Welcome to the Straight Red Card. We're going to do a non-live show today. We're going to go through the striker pool. I know it is weird not being live.
Look for the comment section. I just don't see it anywhere.
I know. It's just quietness, peace and quiet. It's like, I don't know how you would feel after you got tattooed freckles, right? It's just a lot of peace and quiet, a lot of inner calmness. Anyhow, I guess what we're going to do is just break down the striker pool, center forward pool. But some of the guys don't all play center forward right now. I mean, we talk about Haji Wright playing mostly as a winger, Sargent who can play as a winger, but is mostly playing center forward right now for Norwich. So what are we trying to determine? Who the top three are? The top two? What are we trying to determine here, Brett?
Predominantly talk about the top three of the sense, but we do talk about possibility of some of these options out wide.
Yeah.
And then there are some that, I guess I'll just mention them now. I guess PFOC, who just don't really talk about as a whole when we talk about in this contention. Despite the fact he's doing a pretty decent job. I mean, for Gladbach, he's decent. He's doing okay.
I mean, PFOC has been out injured, then he's back, then he's injured, then he's back. But one thing he's been consistent with so far with Gladbach is contributing goals per minutes when he's out on the pitch. So you'd have to keep him in the conversation. The problem is, what does he give you different than, say, Pepi gives you? And that's the conversation we're going to have tonight. You want to put that up on the screen?
Yep.
All right. Josh Sargent just got back from injury. Not just, but, I mean, he's played a few games. But so far, he's already back to the Josh Sargent we knew and loved when he left, which is a goal-scoring machine.
Yeah, we had talked about this, and I texted you about when he got his goal. I don't know if it was this weekend or last weekend, but I was like, Norwich now stands a chance of getting promoted because Sargent's back. And you're like, well, let's see what happens with how he comes back.
Yeah.
Well, since he's been back, he's had 2 wins, 2 draws, and one loss. To your point, he didn't play all 90 minutes of any of those games, really. Sometimes he started, sometimes he came off the bench, but he still contributes, and that's the key. They're looking better now. Yeah,
I mean, the only game he hasn't really been a major contributor in, even though he scored a goal, was the last game this weekend, where, yes, he scored, but then he kind of disappeared a little. And that's because he was dropping so far back to get the ball. Then also arriving, he was like the 4th or 5th guy arriving in the box sometimes. And you're like, what the fuck is he playing? Is he playing midfield? Because that's what it looks like he's playing, midfield.
Remember,
and so I don't want him to do that anymore.
We're going to try to monetize these, so let's leave the F-bombs and stuff to a minimum. Stuff.
I forgot that we're trying to monetize this. My bad.
Yeah.
Can you bleep that one F word out? How many have I said already?
I wasn't paying attention. That was the first one I heard.
Okay. All right. As long as it's just one, I think we're fine.
I think
right. So, yeah. Problem being with Josh Sargent, he needs to continue what he does do well, which is stay near the offensive end, unless he's being asked by David Wagner to come all the way back and do that. And I hope that's not the case.
That's not the case, yeah. That's not how he was playing at the beginning of the season. So why would
Yeah, I would think that's not the case. But, I watched him play defense this weekend. It's like, what are you doing playing so far back?
Bold, yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. And then Daryl Dike, it's almost too early to tell. He's just gotten back. Yes, he scored that 1 goal, which is kind of a gimme since being back. But we got to give him a lot more time now that he's back for West Brom to make a real difference. And right now he's just a coming off the bench guy. So we'll see what happens.
He's been back for 2 games. He's got like 78 minutes. So,
yeah, he got 21 minutes this weekend. Wasn't a great 21 minutes. So we'll see what happens. But I would like to see DK get back to his scoring ways. But again, we're almost duplicating. Like, we're talking about Pepi, Haji Wright, Daryl Dike, and Sargent, and even Wright to some extent. They're all target strikers. They're guys that are decent in the box. All of them can be really good in the box. They're almost all the same players, so you don't want to duplicate and bring a bunch of the same sort of profile players. Are there differences? Of course, there are differences. But I think the major difference, if you're talking about Haji Wright and Josh Sargent versus Pfock and Dike and Pepi, is that Sargent and Wright have been pretty good playing out wide too. So instead of having Aronson being your backup out wide, left behind Pulisic, it should be Haji Wright. And Josh Sargent can be your backup on the right wing for Weah. They don't need to play center forward if you've already decided who your center forward is. And it looks like Greg, for the most part, has decided it's Folarin Balogun for right now, with Pepi being his center forward backup.
For now, I mean, we're going to get down to the question's going to beg is whether or not come Nations League, come Confederations, if Flo's going to be our go-to striker at that point. Because, I mean, it really depends on how you're playing. And now he's obviously bagging more minutes than, say, Pepi is, but Pepi's also got a higher goal contribution.
Yeah, but then again, Balogun is playing in France, and he's not bagging a bunch of goals right now. Mm-hmm. And he's going through a desert moment where he's walking through the desert and looking for, that little pond of water with the palm tree. What is that called? A oasis.
Oasis, yeah.
And he's not having an easy time finding it. And Ben Yedder's racking in the goals there at Monaco. So we're hoping Flo gets back to form, but then Flo is dealing a lot with right now at Monaco what he's dealing with playing with Berhalter. They're not playing through balls. And that's what Balogun is great at, getting on the end of runs and using his speed. And he's not getting a chance to do that. He's being asked to play with his back to goal quite a bit, which is the same thing we are asking him to do at the U.S. men's national team. And that's why he's not scoring in bushels there either. So lots of things to consider going forward.
I mean, currently, I ran through some of the numbers here. We have the number of games, their goals and assists, and how many minutes they played this season so far. Obviously, some people like Dike is not even in contention because he just got back, like we mentioned.
Right.
But looking at the amount of goal contributions in comparison to the number of minutes they played, it's kind of an interesting stat to look at. I know these type of stats don't necessarily paint the whole picture of how you're playing as a player and stuff like that. But we talk about Flo struggling over at Monaco, and he's got a 1 goal contribution every 123 minutes.
Yeah.
But he's also on the same path as Haji Wright. Haji Wright's 1 for every 122 minutes. But we've talked about how Haji's having a great season, or he was. I mean, he's having ups and downs, and
he's injured currently.
Oh yeah, but I mean, quite frankly, up the 9 of the last 11 matches that he's played in, he's actually played out left as a left winger, and he was just as prolific out there as he was as center forward for.
Coventry City.
Coventry City, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But he scored 4 goals, had 3 assists at both center forward and left wing. So, to that argument, we could simply make is that you can incorporate Haji as a contender for the 23, but utilize him as the backup of either if you need to.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Haji Wright as my backup left winger for Pulisic than fucking Brendan Aronson. I'm sorry, Brendan's had a shitty fucking season and a half, and you don't reward people for having a fucking I said shitty, crappy time at their club. You just don't do it. And at this point, Haji's earning a look as a backup winger, if not a backup emergency center forward. The same thing goes for Josh Sargent. He can play out wide. There's no reason he needs to be boxed in as a center forward. He can contribute, and we saw it at the World Cup at times too. He gets out wide. He's very good out there. I think he can play anywhere. You could play him as a center attacking mid. You could play him as a center forward, a second striker, a winger. You can play him in the midfield. Hell, he could probably play center back if you really wanted him to. Josh Sargent is a guy that should be on the lineup. You do not need to bring in a Zendejas to back up Weah when you've got Josh Sargent who can back up Weah and in a pinch play center forward if that's what you need. And if you want 3 big bodies on at the same time, let's say it's the end of the game and you're chucking crosses in, you can have Haji Wright, Sargent, and Pepi on the field at the same time. All guys well above 6 foot who are all good in the air. Yep. That's something you don't have otherwise if you leave Sargent and Wright off the 23 and go with your Shrinky Dink Aronson and your Shrinky Dink Zendejas. You don't have that option to lob the ball. And since Greg loves to cross the ball, it'd be great to have big guys in there who are good at getting on the end of those things.
But yeah, it was funny running all these numbers. And I know covering these guys week in, week out, Ricardo Pepi doesn't see the pitch all that often. When he does, it's kind of bit minutes. And we say it every week. But it was really telling to see that he's gotten 26 games so far this season, but has only played like 480 minutes.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of minutes. And it's frustrating to watch, especially when PSV's been up in certain games 3-0 at halftime. And they still don't play him until the 80th minute or the 75th minute. Just get DeJong off there and put him in. Now, the last game, they actually didn't. They brought Pepi in and left DeJong on because it was a 1-1 game against Utrecht and they needed a goal. So, yeah, it helps to have two big guys in the box. I believe DeJong stayed on. Anyhow, or maybe he didn't. Nevertheless, you can play them together. We've seen that happen before this season once, where they were both on the pitch at the same time. I'd like to see that more often when they need a goal. They did that in Champions League, and it worked out. Maybe we will see more of that. But, it's Den Bosch, and I don't think he's going to do that a lot. So Pepi's going to have to be patient and wait for DeJong. I don't want him to get injured. I don't wish injury on anybody, but eventually there might be a time where DeJong either needs a break or he gets injured and Pepi gets some significant time. And I don't think it'll be much of a drop off for PSV if Pepi comes in for DeJong. I think they'll be fine. So that pretty much sums up what we got in front of us. I think the one guy you can just wipe off there for right now, because it's just way too early, is Daryl Dike.
Yeah.
He's got a lot more to prove here the rest of the season than anybody else. And biggest thing he needs to prove is, can I stay healthy for longer than 3 months? The rest of the guys are contributing for their teams. We'd like to see more contributions from Flo, obviously, but everybody else is at least contributing. And so they're still on the list as people to take seriously in the forward positions. And when I say forward position, I mean all the forward positions: center forward, left wing, right forward, left forward, whatever you want to call them, as backups to Pulisic and Weah, who I'm not taking off the pitch right now.
No. So I guess in the end, your two strikers that are taking the actual striker position come Nations League, if everybody remains the path they're going right now.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm bringing Haji Wright, and I'm bringing Sargent, and I'm bringing Pifak, and I'm bringing Flo. I'm bringing all four of those guys, even though Haji Wright is a backup left winger.
You're going to bring Pifak and Flo over Pepi?
No, I'm bringing all of them. I'm bringing Pepi and Balogun as my main center forwards, and I'm bringing Sargent and I'm bringing Haji as my backup wingers.
Okay. You mentioned Pifak. That's the only reason why I was confused there.
Yeah, I'm not going to bring Pifak right now. Yeah. I'd like to see him get a stretch of games, and if he keeps scoring and scoring and scoring, then I'm going to have to say, okay, who am I going to yank off as my starting center forward? Pepi or Balogun? Somebody's going to have to go, and right now, and I'm finding it really difficult for me to yank Pepi or Balogun off, even if Pifak has a good stretch of games.
So, I mean, currently Pifak plays in a better league than Balogun, and he has more goals.
I know.
In less time. So, I mean, it's definitely that stretch of where Flo's not really banging it this season right now. Hopefully he gets those stretches where he does. But starts padding some of those stats, but it's not been a great season for him.
But Balogun gives you something that Pifak doesn't. Balogun gives you the straightaway speed that Pifak can't give you. Pifak is a replication of what Pepi is really good at, which he's good in the box. He's good at heading the ball. He's a good scrapper. But so is Pepi. So now you got to go, okay, Pepi, Pifak. All right, eye test too. Pepi comes on, he plays minutes. He's always involved in everything on the pitch for PSV. Hard to yank him off for me right now, personally. Again, I need to yank him off. I just need to see pull him off. That doesn't work.
That doesn't work either.
Yeah, I know. So right now, I'm in wait and see mode on Pifak. He needs to, blow my mind, basically, in order to steal a spot from Pepi right now.
I'm
Because he's
with-
not
I'm
going to
with-
steal a spot from Balogun, because Balogun, unlike all of these other players, brings you the one thing, except Sargent can do it.
There you go. You beat me to it.
Speed.
I was gonna say Sargent. It's like Sargent is like the like almost like the Pepi and Flo mix.
Yes.
He can do both of those things. Now, Flo might be better at reading those pathways and splitting those seams to get to those through balls a little bit better than Sargent, but Sargent's able to do them better than Pepi, etc. I'm with you on the two strikers being Pepi and Balogun, and I'm also with you as far as bringing Wright and Sargent as wing depth. Again,
Yeah.
that also offers you the option of changing some things up in the attack as a center forward too. Sargent can play over Pepi.
Yeah.
People will bring up that Sargent hasn't scored for the United States since whatever Cuba or the beer bug or whatever that happened.
Whatever.
But
Yeah.
It's a completely different player at that time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We saw the Sargent during the World Cup. He's a completely different player than he was back then.
Yeah.
And he was left off for a year.
I mean, you got to keep that in mind. It's like saying, oh, well, when's the last time? Who's our benefactor again?
Peter North?
Peter North. Oh, well, Peter hasn't done a movie in 3 years. You put Peter North back in a movie, he's going to perform. All right. So just give the guy a chance. Yes, he semi-retired, or he injured his penis, and so he couldn't work for three years. But he's fully recovered and he's back. Sargent's fully recovered in his back. You can't just say, oh, when he was before, or I guess in this case, you could say it's not a good comparison because, Peter North always performed, whereas Sargent has had dips in his mud, but he's been very good when he's been healthy for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And you can't take that away from what he's done at Norwich. So, if you take that away from him, then, I mean, what, you'd rather play Ferreira because he has scored for the U.S. men's national team against Caribbean teams? Give me a break.
Yar. Sailing those seven seas.
All right. Well, this is our first of what will be probably a weekly feature of non-live shows that we're going to do here. We hope you do watch them. For those who are probably regular watchers of the live show, some of this will sound quite familiar, minus the cursing. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And until the next time on Straight Red Card, we will see you soon.
That hurt.
Then what is this thing?
Gio should never play for U.S. men's national team again because of the action of his parents.
What an idiot! Oh! What type of Muppet does this?
Muppets. Absolute Muppets.
I'm not going to be the best person to give a whole explanation here, but that's...
Booty! Sick! Booty!
Fucking deal with it. What are we really doing?
Yeah, I can agree with that. Throw a zebra in between a tarantula and an elephant.
Has been nothing more than a sham.
Yeah, we didn't play well, but you know what? At the end of the day, we got the job done.
It's going to be a good time for sure.
Oh, sex with the first cousin would indeed be incest. And